So, okay, finally we get to go to our gaming hardware reveal. This is really cool. By the way, the song there is obviously the Chaos Engine title theme. Now, there is a new hardware development going on for Amiga gaming. It's something different that we don't have already. When I found out the details of this, honestly, the hairs on my back stood up just thinking about the possibilities. So this is taking place in the Netherlands. There's a gaming company called Abstraction Games. They do the intricate work of porting games like Mass Effect, Hotline Miami, Angry Birds, and many other well-known titles, platforms like PlayStation, Android, Nintendo Switch, Steam, Windows, Xbox One, and so on. They're very good at what they do. The guys at Abstraction Games are also Amiga fans, and they've been working on something new that we haven't had before on Amiga. And now we're lucky to meet the guys who've also been to Amiga Ireland over the years. They've been working on these prototypes. It's been a pleasure to meet them actually over the years. And we're going to talk to the CEO of Abstraction Games, Ralph Egas. Ralph, it's good to see you again. Let me spotlight you and unmute you. There we go.
Right. I'm in spotlight now, right?
Yes.
How do I look?
You look fantastic. Yeah, you all look good.
So first off, this my brother. My brother. This is the mirror.
Yeah, it is.
Right behind me and Eric. So we started this tradition of attending Amiga Ireland 2 years ago, where this whole thing took off actually. But I'm kind of overruling your questions now, so please go ahead. Thanks for having me. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's totally okay. It's fantastic. This is really exciting, and it's great to have you here. And my God, I really want to drink now.
We have guests like Rob, very well spotted. Rob.
So, okay, guys. So, among all the platforms and all the games you've been working, I mean, I listed out an awful lot there. There's still an Amiga connection there for you. How did you get started with computers, and what was your path to Amiga?
Well, so when I was like, what was it, like 10 years old, my dad bought a ZX Spectrum. So that was my first foray into using computers. Of course, I was excited. And soon afterwards, I saw at a friend's house, they had a Commodore 64. So I started, I bought a Commodore 64, saved for a whole year. And then I started, as you do, you start programming because that's what you did back in the day, because there was limited software and you wanted to be creative. And it was like a whole new world opening, right? So that was what was happening. A couple of years later, I bought an Amiga. And, that's basically, I kept doing what I was doing, but then on a 60-bit/30-bit system. So I've always been pretty much addicted to programming and logic and computers. Now, this is like, I think why a lot of people are still in retro or in old computers, because, they were at the basis of a particular kind of education that you don't get today. Nowadays you have, everything is there. There's a lot of software. My kids don't understand, even though they like retro, but for other reasons. But they don't really grasp the whole, like the environment that we were in back then. So I still think it's really interesting. Whenever I need to escape from my work, and I love my work, as co-founder and CEO of Abstraction, we do a lot of really great stuff, I really enjoy. But it's still, at some point, it's still going to be work. And this is like escapism for me. And I can, like last couple of weeks, I've been sleeping 2 hours a day or so, because I love working on this system and doing this crazy stuff, right? So, yeah, coming in it.
They're good when they take their technology breaks to do other technology.
Right.
That's always been my experience. So, okay, well, as I said earlier, you've worked with some really known gaming titles and platforms, and now you've got something for Amiga. Would you like to reveal your project to us and tell us about it?
Yeah, so I'll just show you what me and Eric have been working on the last couple of days, over more than a week. So, little introduction. This is, as some people might recognize, is the Chaos Engine. It's the start of level. And 7 or 8 years ago, we at Abstraction ported the original Amiga assembly code to PC in a very peculiar way, and that worked out. So we have the Chaos Engine on PC on Steam, okay? Now, so we already had the original source code from through Mastertronic from the Bitmap brothers, the original 30-year-old, or what is it, 25-year-old Amiga 68 K source code. So we have it. Now we went in again, and this was a kind of bit harder to actually run it on Amiga, and where we added support for a new dual stick controller. That's new hardware. So this is what we're talking about. This started 2 years ago, literally. We were at Amiga Island in the hotel, and we were thinking about, okay, what could we possibly create for this brilliant platform that is going to maybe be seen as innovative and make a change in order to maybe push the platform forward. So there's Aeon and there's all kind of initiatives going on. But if you look at classic, most people play games, all games, and I think that's great. There's also people creating new games. Now, I want to basically here today, I would like to invite people to get in contact with us to talk about new games that can be created with new kind of controls that features 2 sticks and 8 buttons. This is, of course, a prototype. Looks like kind of like shit, but it's like, you know, it's just a prototype, and it deserves like a full industrial design kind of thing and ergonomic. But it works, and it took like a year or so, but this got conceived in the hotel, thinking about what we could possibly create. It needs to be hardware meets software. That's what it is. So I'm going to show you. So we added dual stick support in the original code. So basically you can move around, but use the right stick to actually aim while you run in a different direction, which makes the game a lot easier. So, and that's cool because I was shitty at this game. Right. So, but that's basically it. That's basically the idea. So now imagine I created a driver that can be used by modern, programmers now today to embed like this support for this controller into their modern games on old machines. And I think that's what this is about. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to create new kind of experience on Amiga. So then to top it off, then Marvin Droogsma, I was in contact with a couple of weeks ago, and he said, well, apart from me, I know this is an Amiga event, still gonna, shamelessly talk about another platform, it's the Commodore 64. And it's like, we got it working in under a day, and I hope you're gonna recognize this. So here we go. That is Commando DS version, dual stick edition to 2021. So that's what we've been doing, and it actually works. So same thing, running in a certain direction, aim in a different direction, and the game just becomes playable for once, because it's really hard. It's like so unforgiving because there's like the controls, they kind of rush it in the end. You can clearly see it's not that well polished, but it has Rob Hubbard music, but therefore it's sold like a great deal. So, but this is what I think is great. We can actually reinvent games on all platforms and bring in new kind of standards of today. So that's the idea of this. I hope that's a bit clear.
That is amazing. So everyone who's watching now, like, you probably know why I said the hairs are standing on my back learning about this. I think it's absolutely amazing. The fact that not only is there new possibilities for new games for Amiga, but actually the old ones as well can be kind of reimagined from that point of view. Absolutely brilliant. Right, I have a million questions for you, but I'll try and organize my thoughts. So look, I've heard before that the Amiga wasn't capable of this. People say, oh no, you can only have so many fire buttons, you can only do this and that. So if it wasn't possible, how did it become possible?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It was always theoretically possible, of course, because I didn't change anything about the Amiga itself. It's just the hardware. So this is the hardware, the prototype. And yes, there's 8 buttons. Now, technically, if you look at the joystick port, because like this goes into one joystick port, it's not like I'm cheating by using 2 joystick ports for 2 sticks or anything, right? It's just one joystick port. So you could end up having two of those dual sticks on an Amiga or a 64, or if you have like this 4-player adapter things on the user port with 64, that could also work technically. So the idea is that like the Amiga and the C64 and the Atari VCS back in the day, the 2600, all those machines had the same kind of standard. And so you have 4 pins for the 4 directions, normally 4 directions. And you can make 8 directions by combining pins, kind of, right? And what I'm doing here is using those 4 directions as buttons, actually. And those are parallel, even though you could never technically or physically, mechanically have all 4 directions, you know, fired at the same time. But the interface does allow, the internal circuitry does allow for that. So I use those as buttons. Now, how to get to 8 though? Well, the trick is, and I just like, I thought this up and I was like, it's probably not going to work because I didn't know that one of the pins you can, you know, the fire pin actually on the joystick port, you can set it up as an output instead of an input. So what I ended up doing was designing a circuitry where like the circuitry on this board here would be driven between 2 states. And this, like this, if you look closely, it's not going to show up on camera, but it toggles between on and off basically, and that's just 2 half frames right there. So the thing is, in the original hardware, how it works is like these potentiometers that are basically, one stick is 2 potentiometers, for people that know about electronics enough to understand that. And there's an internal RC circuitry that's basically a timer, and it times out, and this is how the internal circuitry measures to what like extent you have like put the stick in a certain direction. Okay. So how do I double the sticks? How do I double the buttons? By switching between 2 states, and there's basically demultiplexing going on in the circuitry. It's very simple, actually. It's like, I don't really know any electronics. I spent like 2 years studying this in order to be able to do this. So I think that's telling, not of my intelligence, but, you know, mostly because things are so, you know, nowadays you can print your own stuff. You can create your own software. Is very approachable nowadays. If you spend some time in it, you can learn. Everyone can learn this, to do this. And I think that's brilliant in this day and age. So that's kind of the breakthrough for this project. It's like, I send out a signal. I ask for either the first 4 buttons or the second 4 buttons, demultiplex it on the board, and either these 4 buttons or these shoulder buttons plus these 2 are sent through. Same for the sticks. And the software driver is just gonna, you know, use on the Amiga, the couple is basically to, at the start of the frame, we read the first 4 and 2 and 1 stick, and then half frame, we generate another interrupt, and then it's gonna read the other stuff. And that's basically it. And any game could have support for this. It's very simple to implement. It's just like something nobody thought of yet, or did, but never implemented it. And why would you? I mean, there's no real reason to do it. It's just being crazy, and let's see if it works. And it did. Just got lucky. Here we are.
I mean, those days were known for innovation. I'm just blown away that there was a gap for this that didn't get exploited until now. It's absolutely amazing. And also, like a lot of what's available today, it's to sort of help meet modern technology needs. You know, to help us connect with HDMI or to speed up our machines. But this is actually something that targets back in the day. I mean, this would have been just as amazing back then. It's just fantastic. And the chat here is really busy, so let's just go back. Oh man, I'm going to need a bigger chat.
Yeah, window. You think, you know, y'all, back in the day, there was like dual stick as a concept wasn't invented yet. So therefore it was that no one tried to implement it on an Amiga because it wasn't there. Right. Yeah. So it's just like just very similar to on PC, like the first Doom and Quake. And there was no WASD and mouse driven. No, you know, that would be introduced later. It wasn't there at the beginning. It's like, that's like game mechanics that got more mature. Yeah. Right. So.
Like, I think there's games that maybe I haven't liked in the past. Like you were saying, you know, the game you weren't very good at, Mando, now or was it Chaos Engine? You know, I can just okay. I'm just very excited about this. So let me go back to the chat here for a second. Yeah, there's a lot of positive comments here. This is so right on. This is really cool. Very nice. Do I see shoulder buttons? Question: are the sticks treated as analog or digital on the Amiga side? That's from Mid1.
So on the Chaos Engine right now, it's even analog. You know, so there's on the left stick, it's actually analog. The right stick, not so much, but that's just because we got to the point where we could implement it in software. The hardware does it though, so you can go as far as you want with analog on this one.
Okay, cool. Cool. So, okay, you can become a pro now with using this joystick. The comment. Let's see. Yeah, so many Amiga games to do with this. Yeah, that's absolutely true, David C. Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. Fantastic work, guys. From Michael Nerney, Vicky, superb work. On to cool stuff. Okay, John from Nivrick Gaming says, "Give me the docs." He wants the documentation. Aaron Smith, this is super cool. Vicky, this is so much more interesting than an 030 RAM card to me. Yeah, absolutely. When will it be available and how much?
Yeah, very good question. I don't know, honestly. I mean, it took 2 years with like half a year, like full on spending like almost on a daily basis on this design. So let's say half a year between work. I don't know, because now I'm good at software. That's kind of where it ends, you know. But in hardware, not so much. And I need people like maybe like Rob, for instance, to help me out on better designs for PCBs and better electronics and surface mounted device technology and all that. You know, I haven't got the chops yet, and it's going to take a while to get there. Same for industrial design. I'm not an industrial designer. I just create something, and I started for the first time working with this software called what was it? Fusion 360, or what's it called? And you know, and it's great software, but you know, it's going to take years for me to get anywhere close designing something that would be ergonomic and reminiscent of Amiga, because this is not it, right? So this is just a prototype. So that's going to take time, and I need inspiration, I guess. I'd like to, you know, take this project further, but I'm definitely going to need help. We'll be creating games for it ourselves. I definitely invite other people that make games in Amiga and potentially 64 and others to spend time, and you know, I'll send them a device and they can hook it up and just experiment with it and get inspired. But also, I would like to meet people that know industrial design and have maybe a great idea for like a shape and form. So it's going to depend highly on that kind of support for this to come out, because we want to do a good job, not just something that we put out there for a couple of quid and it feels broken. So
amazing. Okay, so this is the next question: is that a DB9 connection or something else?
It is, yeah. So I got these. They call it Genesis extension cables, which is like. So I needed some research to find out that they refer to it as a second Genesis stuff. So that's just a DB9 extension cable, and the way I built it here was just do this and hook it up like that, and that just works. Rather than having the cable stuck to the joystick, so it's better for like storing it and all that kind of stuff that way, I think.
Oh, very nice. Wow, that's really nice. And another question here from Phil: is it serial data?
Is it serial data? There's no microchip on it. If you're talking about serial versus parallel, you're kind of assuming that there's some kind of handshaking, and this is like really old school. There's some pins that are directly connected to a switch on a board. There's nothing to it. It's just parallel. It is parallel distribution of information, I would say, but it's not like a stream of information with handshaking and all that. It's very simple logic, to be honest.
Okay, a few more comments here. This is amazing, honestly. Another comment: take my money now.
Okay. Anytime.
Okay, so yeah, David's asking, is there an online order location? I think that's been answered. You won't be able to order for quite a while, but potential developers should get in touch. Do I have that right, Ralph?
So I didn't get any of that, Yola.
Sorry. So
I don't know.
A comment from David Z is there an online order location? I'm just saying that there isn't as of yet, but that developers should get in touch. Do we have that right?
Yeah, and I was looking for a way to share my information. So I guess I'll just going to do it in the chat if that's okay. Because
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll do that right now. It's a bit like super amateuristic kind of way of doing this, but who gives a shit?
Okay, and another question is: would this work on any DB9 equipped machine with suitable software?
Very good question. So when I had when I was chatting with Marvin, who inspired me to look further. And then at that moment, it took a day for this to get this to work on the C64 because the majority of the design was already done. However, at that point, I wasn't quite sure whether beyond the Amiga, other systems would have the same standard of being able to have one pin as an output, because that's needed to drive this kind of dual multiplexing. It turned out it does. And the only thing I needed to change, was a bit shitty, is that the internal timing, because of the internal capacitor being way smaller than what's in the Amiga. So you could technically switch 1,000 times a frame on a C64, whereas you can only do this once on the Amiga because of like the different timing characteristics, not because it's better or worse, it's just different. It's just on their capacitor circuitry. So, so I guess yes, but I don't know. I haven't investigated like Atari or you know 8-bit or 60-bit machines or consoles or I don't know, but very likely they will support it with some modifications.
Lovely. Another question here, this is from Rob. How easy is it to add support for WHD load save?
For
WHD load support?
I don't, it's hard to answer because I don't see I don't know how this even makes sense. I don't know. I mean, so I haven't built software. We haven't built software that is good to go. I mean, this is obviously hacked and this is not for distribution because it's not us to own. So the Chaos Engine is not ours. And that's the only piece of software you could think about. The rest is just a driver. So a driver is not going to get anything near that you distribute as a package for consumers, right? So this is like what I have here is a platform for developers that could create software that would support WHD load, but this is not in that realm, if that makes sense.
Okay, fair enough. I'm sure that, does that answer your question, Rob? Yeah, thumbs up from Rob. Okay, so yeah, Anthony, I like how it's an Amiga solution.
Sorry, I get it now. So so I get where this question came from. So Rob, we could talk about it later separately and then we go in more depth to it. There's probably a thing or two you can teach me about this, how this works actually. So
okay. Yeah, okay, just a lot of positive comments here and excitement in the chat. Okay, Walkero asks, is it, again, well, okay, that's the same question. Is it possible to patch WHD load games to support it? So that's the same question, I suppose.
Yeah, so so now I'm kind of starting to get the question where it comes from. So yes, but someone needs to create the patch. Someone needs to do what we did. We spent like 2 weeks not sleeping a lot, you know, getting into patching an original game in order to create support. Because you have to imagine the original game doesn't have any concept of 2 sticks, right? So imagine this or Turrican, where the gameplay was focused on Turrican. The gameplay was focused around, you know, having to stop the character and then aim around, and he couldn't walk. With dual stick, you could have Turrican on steroids, where you could do both walk and run and aim, right?
Oh my God!
But in the original game, when it was created, there was no concept like that, so it would have to be implemented, right? So, and that's what we have been doing with the Chaos Engine. It's just not done yet. If that makes sense.
Fantastic. Let me see. Another question. Would you consider doing a Kickstarter to get you over the line?
Yeah, I would. I would consider it. Yeah. So it's not set in stone, but it does make sense. First, before I do though, I mean, Kickstarter, you should never underestimate. That is like, it's a day job for 1 month, and then after supporting your loyal backers. You know, that's going to take a lot of effort, and for which I don't necessarily have enough time to do it. I would need to find someone to run it, I guess, or at least help me out. So there's a lot of logistics and preparation that's going to go with that. So we're not even remotely close to doing something like that, honestly. Yeah. But first, let's get some support from the community and interest, and maybe some ideas, and then we'll see how fast this can go. Okay, Ollie's asking, would you provide some sort of SDK or libraries with it? Yeah, it's already done. Okay, already done. Excellent. Yeah, it is. So I have basically it's like it's one source file. It's very simple. there's not a lot to it really. It's like the idea that counts. It's that the implementation is really simple. Anyone with, you know, a bit understanding of assembly and some Amiga kind of environment programming would be able to implement like or interface with the hardware in 5 minutes.
Okay, so I suppose some of these questions that are coming up here now probably fall into that category of it depends on the support and stuff like that, but I'll put them to you anyway. So I might give you a few actually, just to bunch them together. So one is, what software will you be building games with that supports the controller, and will there be support via libraries such as Blitz Basic and Amos? So I'll give you that, I suppose, to start with.
Super question. So what is the answer to this? I mean, it's all very rudimentary shape right now. So we have one assembly source file. So anyone with assembler knowledge could use any kind of assembler, cross assemblers, or, you know, or ARM machine SIG assembler, who remembers that one, or ASM1, or I mean, I mean, the code's so little. There's so little of it, you know. Changing the dialect of the assembly and the macros and the environment would be, you know, going to be a great undertaking. So that's assembly. If you look at Amos and Blitz, you know, Basic or whatever, we haven't provided anything for that yet, but it's like, you know, maybe someone in your community, maybe Rob could create one, like a driver for Blitz.
I volunteer, Rob.
No, but so I want to be honest with you guys. I mean, we're not there yet. We have, I think, a great concept. We've done some work. We have something to show, and that's kind of where we are. We need a lot of work, and hopefully not just from us, but from the community to get somewhere. And then I would happily be trying to lead like production of like the hardware and get it to a shape where everyone can buy it, and you know, without any hassle, with a shit ton of software and all that. That would be the idea.
I personally think this is going to be really successful. I mean, it's top of my list. Another question from Rob is, does it have a fallback compatibility mode for games that don't support it, or is that even necessary?
This guy here has been asking for this for I don't know how long. And I've said, well, I'm not ready to do that yet. I think I'm going to need like to revise my design with a microchip or something, very simple one, in order to be able to do this like conveniently. As of yet, it doesn't. And but yeah, I think like a first handshaking sequence of a few bits and some kind of pattern is going to be needed to do that, and it can work. And I'm sure we will implement it at some point, but right now it doesn't.
Okay. So, and the other questions again fall into that. You know, will the CD32 be supported? I think that is the last question we have. Yeah, will the CD32? But I think the answer is eventually, if not already.
Yeah, it's a good question though. You know, naively, I would say yes, absolutely. It's the same thing. I don't know. I don't actually know. I have not looked at the CD32 circuitry, like the schematics. It's very likely exactly the same as the 1200, but I don't know. I haven't tested it. So I cannot guarantee either yes or no, but probably.
Okay, guys. Well, on that note, it's almost time to end this segment. Is there anything else? By the way, guys, it's really nice to see the three of you again. I'm going to really miss our Sunday morning drinks in the local bars and that alone.
Yeah, we got a great start here, so with the games and all that. So, but yeah, next time for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, cool. I got to see you all there anyway. Glad you're keeping well. Is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
I'm just very happy to be here on this event. I really enjoy. I can say this enough. I told you already, Jarla, but I really enjoy being with you guys every year, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity now that we have some kind of event, even if it's not the real thing. But it's great. It's great to be here, and I'd like to meet all of you next year again, and that's, I think, what matters most. And I hope for a lot of feedback on this project, and that we can work together in some shape or form.
I think you can be guaranteed a lot of feedback, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you two guys. Really am. Yeah, that's fingers crossed for next January. The hotel's booked anyway.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay, lovely. So we just have a very short break before we move on to our next piece. That was so exciting. Um, yeah, so next we're going to talk to Jakob Gorham Hansen from Melon Design. He created Naughty Ones. He was the programmer on that game, which myself and my daughter play all the time here. The Amiga is basically turned into a console for that game. And sorry, 1 second. That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, so I'm going to take a break for about 2 minutes. We'll organize that and then we'll be back to the meeting. So thanks everybody. See you soon.
Megalodon.